Believe it or not, I don't think the mainstream media is telling you the truth. Well, that's why you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today, we are going to look at what's going on with jobs, with the economy. I'm going to show you the charts, I'm going to show you the details, and we don't have time to waste. So let's begin by taking a look right here. The most in-demand jobs of the next decade, occupations with the highest projected change in employment in the US between 2022 and 2032. And so looking at this over the next period of time, home, health, and personal care aids. Of course, aging population, this is very clear. The pharmaceutical industry will be the ones that will be providing more and more of the things that they do in order to provide a profit to their shareholders. Software developers is definitely up on that list, but what we have been told from Sam Altman, from others that are in this industry, and also Leather Jacket Man from NVIDIA, has been that in a longer term scenario, actually, it will reverse because the AI is going to be doing it much better than a human can. This is incredible, a huge change. And now, what I'm starting to realize and starting to dig into is the soft skills are going to become even more important, because no matter how well they can program these computers, the AI, and so on, is it going to have the soft skills and interpersonal skills of the really, really strong, like somebody who's really strong at that? So keep that in mind. Let's look here. Restaurant cooks, I think that could easily be automated, but anyway, that's what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is telling us. I wanted to mention this, though. You're looking at where energy is, and there's a lot of jobs surrounding that, right? Just look. You could see oil, the projection over the next little while. Yeah, we're probably going to be around the same, not too much more, but it's not going away. What is going away, though, is coal. We know that to be the case. And so I wouldn't be trying to get a job in the coal industry. And you could see what that's being replaced by is wind and solar. It doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. I mean, that is the direction. Nuclear is there as well. I think I need to point that out. So when we talk about the jobs, keep that in mind, okay? Job stats are simply a mirage in Canadian growth. Why though? Like, what is this all about? Well, what they say here, if you're interested in reading it, it says, look, hey, well, we created 90,000 jobs, right? Wow, that must be great, right? Well, the truth is, and they talk about this here if you want to read it, those jobs primarily are government jobs. So the government is overwhelmingly providing all these new jobs. How do those people get paid? The taxpayer. The more government workers you have, the more the taxpayer will have to pay. And they could do that through property taxes. They could do it through sales taxes. They could do it through carbon taxes. They could do, what happens here is you find one area will have really low property taxes or really high property taxes, but then they have no sales taxes or they have higher sales taxes. In the end, they get their money. They get their pound of flesh. Entrepreneurs already leaving Canada due to the capital gains hike. This, of course, is happening. Not only will people leave, but they are taking their wealth with them. They're taking the jobs with them. And in the new world, where we have artificial intelligence, where we have these robotics, we know the direction it's heading. I think it's got a longer way to go than what Leather Jacket Man suggests. But I think it's important to understand that this here is going to become something that, it makes waves. Okay, you're going to go, no longer do you need to be in one place. For a lot of people, they do not need that. It's going to become more and more prevalent. Canada has become roadkill in the global economic competition. That is pretty clear. There's somebody there. Don't look at her. Okay, she's mine. But just look at it. Look at what's happening. It's sad to see this for Canada, but you can sort of extrapolate that into different countries. Looking at it, they talk about this, how it's not competitive anymore. Okay. So you can go to a place like Mexico and obviously get a lot, cheaper labor. They're manufacturing much more stuff than Canada ever is. You're looking at a more robust economy in some ways. And so what for the United States perspective, whether it's the country from the south, it's the country from the north, Canada's not providing all of the resources that it has. It's so resource rich. They're not providing that. And so as this happens, they are more and more burdened. And so you could see higher and higher taxation as a result of this. They're doing the same thing that the United States is doing. And in fact, if everybody was freaking out during 2020, oh my goodness, you pumped in so much cash in the US. How can you do this? Well, believe it or not, Canada per capita pumped in even more cash, if that's even possible. All right. Look at this. Data reveals rising economic distress across America despite the growth. So I'm going to show you this here. It's a little laggy on this page. I think it's a very, there's a lot of detail. So links will be in the description under the sources area. You could see it. Distressed is this darker red area. And then as we go lighter into the green colors, it's more prosperous. There's a lot of red. You see that? I mean, that is wild when you really look at that. And so you got to do this for yourself, and you can, just basically go through it. But, the Economic Innovation Group, EIG, measures levels of distress and prosperity across the U.S. Roughly 52 million Americans live in a distressed zip code as of 2021, up from 50 million in 2017. So obviously it's getting worse. Like I said, you kind of have to do this on your own computer. It's probably going to look a little bit off on here. But just seeing some examples, the conditions are worsening. The jobs are not getting better and more abundant in some cases, unless, of course, you want to make a minimum wage. And a lot of people, they're saying, what's the point? Fed's favorite underlying inflation gauge is seen cooling. Core PCE measures could see the smallest advance of 2024 so far. Euros on inflation may pick up, but the ECB remains poised to cut. What's going on here is that they're able to lie to us right to our face, whether we are in Canada, the United States, or in Europe. All across the board, they tell people that everything is okay, and of course it isn't. We know that. David Stockman on the continual rise in the cost of living and why the Fed has no shame. You could see it here. I mean, there's some charts. I'll show you in a second, a little further down. Change in the core cost of living components since January 2017. Food up 32%, shelter up 34%, energy 35%, transportation 36%. And that isn't even the real measurements. That's like their own measurements. So has your salary increased by that much? I mean, I've seen many more examples where the food has actually gone up 100% since 2019. It depends on what stats you want to use, but look at it. I mean, it's crazy to see how bad the average person is getting punished. Walmart and Home Depot and Louis Vuitton earnings highlight the consumer spending shifts that have been happening. Of course, roughly 70% of the economy is driven by consumer spending. So as soon as that is impacted, you have jobs that are lost. Consumers are shifting from discretionary products to essentials. Walmart is the world's largest retailer and a good barometer of overall economic health. And while they were saying, hey, we did well on our earnings, we're seeing higher engagement across income cohorts with upper income households continuing to account for the majority of the share gains. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you about what's going on? Walmart is known to attract value-driven, price-conscious consumers and noted a shift in the types of products that they're buying. Many consumer pocketbooks are still stretched, and we see the effect of that in our business mix as they're spending more of their paychecks on non-discretionary categories and less on general merchandise. You see? This is a very different scenario when you got the $15 Big Macs. I think people are starting to get to the point at which, and by the way, I don't think they're learning their lesson. They're getting financial education and all that. Not at all. I just think they just can't afford it. They'll spend every dime, right? If they can, they'll spend every dime. But unfortunately, they can't. Okay. So this is another one. If you want to put the link, I got the link in the description. But basically, you can just put your mouse around and actually see how much they cost in different parts. Seattle, my goodness, $14.71 for a McDonald's burger. It's a little ridiculous, I do think. So what we do as individuals, we have to do what we can in terms of our jobs. Can we upskill? I just read a stat today that if you start learning AI stuff, that could mean in your position or in your company, a 25% salary difference. How do you do that? Class Central. I have no affiliation. I've created a video about it before. It's companies, or I should say companies, that is funny, but it's the colleges, the Stanfords and all that. They created courses. They put them up on Class Central for you to take totally free. Class Central. That's one way to do it. I've got playlists on my YouTube channel with all kinds of information just like that. If you appreciated this, simply hit that thumbs up button. New setup. This is the way it's going to be going forward. I'll figure it out. I'll tweak it and so on. This is old school. All right. Basically, this is the way it's going to be from now on as I downsize and simplify. And I want to thank you for being here. If you want more information, the link is in the description. And I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.